Hey, you're listening to Wrestling Roundup, FreeFM 89.0. This is Grady Hooker. We'll jump straight into this day in history, 21st of February. We got a couple of Raws. The Monday Night Wars in 2000. Nitro had Hulk Hogan and Lex Luger fighting in a steel cage. Ric Flair interfered in that match, and the match sort of exploded from then on. Over on Raw, Big Show, Triple H, and X-Pac took on the team of Kane, Cactus Jack, and The Rock. Triple H actually covered Cactus Jack for the win. There were three other Raws as well this day in history. 1994, Razor Ramon and the 1-2-3 Kid defeated the Quebecers by disqualification, so they did not get the tag team titles. And in 2005, Royal Rumble winner Batista turned on Triple H and picked him as his WrestleMania opponent. And in 2011, WrestleMania opponents John Cena and The Miz teamed up to gain the WWE Tag Team Championships off of the Core, but then immediately the Core used their rematch clause and Heath Slater and Justin Gabriel got their titles back. A couple of pay-per-views as well. WCW Super Brawl 3, 1993. Vader defeated Sting in a White Castle of Fear strap match. Don't know what that is. But Vader only won when Sting sort of threw him into the fourth turnbuckle, so I imagine that's a four corners match. 2010 WWE Elimination Chamber, Chris Jericho defeated The Undertaker, John Morrison, R-Truth, CM Punk, and Rey Mysterio to win the World Heavyweight title. That was the one where HBK came out from the bottom to eliminate Undertaker. And John Cena defeated Sheamus, Triple H, Randy Orton, Ted DiBiase, and Kofi Kingston to win the WWE Championship. So that's it for this day in history. We're going to jump into the classic entrance theme. Josh actually picked it this week. It's Jacqueline's. And you're back with the Wrestling Roundup, FreeFM 89.0, Grady Hooker, and live on Skype right now I got Josh.
Hey.
So we'll start off on Raw. It opened up with an in memory of, I think it was Frank Bollock.
Yeah, he was one of the producers backstage for television that had been there for like years and years, and he passed away from cancer.
Okay. And then we open up with Betty White coming out, and the crowd actually embraced her quite a bit.
She's the May White of television.
Yeah.
Mae Young of television, and it's just I was really looking forward to seeing what they would do with her.
Not much. But Big Show came out on her arm, which was quite a big comparison. Triple H thought it was funny.
Yeah, that was hilarious to see.
But Kane is supposedly on leave, which we found out wasn't so true later on in the show.
Yeah, clearly this is building towards a continuation of the Authority versus Daniel Bryan thing, been put on the back burners when he was dealing with the Wyatts. I have to believe that this would be part of what CM Punk would be doing if he hadn't taken his ball and gone home.
Okay. Well, talking about dealing with the Wyatt family, Rey Mysterio and the Rhodes brothers didn't do that very well.
Now, the Wyatt family is pretty dominant right now.
I think the best part of that match was when Bray Wyatt countered the 619 straight into the Sister Abigail.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. I think Bray is winning more and more people over by the weeks with his in-ring work, because a lot of people were really discounting his ability in the ring because of the Ring of Fire match, which was never intended to show his in-ring ability.
Yeah. I think a lot of people also might have previous ideas about him from his Husky Harris gimmick.
Thing was, he was really good as Husky Harris. It just terrible name, and he wasn't given a gimmick.
Fair enough.
But he was really good in the ring.
Up next, something you were claiming that is you're doing. The Shield sort of yelled at Dean for not defending his title.
I had been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks In fact, at one point I was like counting the days, every single show, how many days it was since his last defense. It ended with at 105 days,
That's
3 months and 2 weeks.
that's a lot of days.
Yeah. But I kept saying it. Like, when is he going to defend? When is he going to defend? It's been X amount of days. It's been this long. And then they come out and they spell it out that he's been months since he's defended the title. And the whole promo with Ambrose where he was like, "Oh, how am I supposed to conjure up opponents and stuff?" I'm taking credit for that because I'm a wrestling fan and I have an ego just like the wrestlers.
Yeah. We're going to skip over the next segment, and we'll talk about it a little later, but up next, Santino Marella took on Fandango.
No, not much to see here. Basically, it's just continuing the feud, and Miz comes out to announce again and completely just randomly sidetracks it.
He does get a match on SmackDown, though, so maybe his complaining is working.
Maybe. I don't know. I watched a backstage promo thing that they do for YouTube.
Yep.
And he said he would continue doing it.
Yay.
So I don't know where they're going with Miz.
Okay. Well, up next, Byron Saxton debuted as a backstage announcer.
I like Byron's work in NXT as a commentator. I'm not that sure on his ability as a interviewer, but I'm definitely going to give him a chance. Maybe because first show he didn't do that good, but that may have been just jitters and nervousness over being on the main roster.
Fair enough.
But I'm going to give him a chance.
Okay. Up next, the Real Americans took on the team of Sheamus and Christian.
Well, this was a good little tag team match.
It was, but I'm not entirely sold on this pairing of Sheamus and Christian. I think there's a little bit of tension between the two.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Christian. He seems to be like the bottom man of the total pole when it comes to this Elimination Chamber match. He's not getting over as a hero, and so I could see them making him a villain. I could see him just bowing out because he's just not able to gather the emotion that he was able to before. So I don't know. This is not what we were looking for Christian as far as when he returned.
No, his return definitely has been lackluster and quite overshadowed with all of the other people coming back for the WrestleMania season.
But he hasn't looked at all that together in the ring either.
True.
And that's basically what I'm thinking. And on the other side, you have Zeb Coulter getting pissed at Jack Swagger, and you have Cesaro just losing an unimportant match.
Yeah, you never know where they're going with half of these characters. We see over on SmackDown there was 2 upsets in the Real Americans ball court, but we'll talk about those when we jump over to SmackDown. Up next, I'm not sure if you can count it as a match, but Alberto Del Rio sort of squished Ziggler.
Yeah, that is the definition of a squash match.
No, I think
1 minute, 34 seconds.
The definition of a squash was that noise that Alberto made going through the announce table.
That's a squash, but not a squash match.
Yeah.
A squash match is where you beat somebody down so badly that they never have a chance, and the match lasts less than 2 minutes. And that's exactly what happened here.
This match was essentially to set up Batista Alberto at the Elimination Chamber.
Yep. Which we'll get, and because it's Batista's return match, he'll win the match.
Of course he will. He's already shown that he's physically dominant over Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah, you can't have him losing this match and then expect him to win the world championship at WrestleMania. This isn't John Cena last year, because it was a tag team match last year that Cena was in.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a singles match, so there will be no excuse if he loses.
Fair enough. Up next, the next person into the Hall of Fame, class of 2014, is Lita.
Yes, I was never that big a fan of Lita.
Well, Grady was.
But I will say this, I chose 2 Divas themes this week to honor her.
Yeah, we got Jacqueline, and upcoming, we've got Gail Kim from TNA.
Yes. But I knew as soon as they put Trish in, it was going to be a year or 2, and then they were going to put Lita in.
Yeah.
It was guaranteed.
It made sense.
I would have put Jacqueline or Linda Blaze in first, but that was my opinion.
Fair enough. Everybody has opinions. Up next, the New Age Outlaws try and give Betty White some dodgy tea, but it doesn't work out.
No, this was funny, and it's one of the things that makes Betty so lovable is the ability to do stuff like this.
Yeah. So basically, they tainted her tea, and then she switched it with Billy.
And that causes problems later on.
Yeah, in the next match, which we'll talk about now, the Usos taking on Rybaxel.
Clearly, the Usos are now the number 1 contenders for the tag team titles.
I think that's pretty much well set.
Yeah, they've been unstoppable this year. They've not lost any match that they've been in. I would rather that they hold off on the Usos challenging New Age Outlaws until WrestleMania. I think that would be a bigger match and would be more special to have the Usos win the titles at WrestleMania than the Elimination Chamber. But I have a feeling they're going to go with the Elimination Chamber.
I think if they do it at Elimination Chamber, they might end in a DQ finish or a count out or something like that. That will lead to the Usos winning but not getting the titles.
I could see maybe the New Age Outlaws walking out of the match. Just like we're done. We're taking our titles and we're going home.
Yeah, and then they have their match at WrestleMania, their big moment, confetti, but not confetti because it's a tag team title, sadly.
Yeah, but you could even have their father sitting in the front row and have him come out and dance with them as they're celebrating their newly won title.
Yeah. It would be a nice moment, and I hope WWE capitalizes on it. Up next, we got a little bit of time before the song. The US Championship match. Dean Ambrose issued an open challenge.
And somebody's going to get their butt wet.
Yep. Grady's pick, his newest draft pick, Mark Henry.
This was an interesting little match. Henry won by disqualification, which you knew was coming because you didn't want to see Henry win the United States Championship for storyline purposes.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting little thing, and it continues the issues between inside the Shield, and you have the Wyatt family who comes onto the screen and proceeds to berate them for being bickering little schoolgirls.
Yeah, this feud between the two is quite good, actually.
Yeah. Imagine if they had maybe built this to WrestleMania instead of Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. Okay, well, now we'll have to jump into the current entrance theme of the song. We talked about it a little earlier. It's Gail Kim's TNA theme. And you're back with the Wrestling Roundup, FreeFM 89.0, Grady, Hooker, and Josh. We'll jump back into Raw where we left off. The Bella Twins and Cameron took on the Divas Champ and Foxana.
You almost have to think that if Oksana hadn't injured Naomi, it would have been Naomi in the match, not Cameron.
And Naomi heading into Elimination Chamber, getting her Divas title shot.
Yeah. She's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks due to that cracked orbital bone. Fortunately, it did not require surgery, but she cannot fly, so she has to stay home.
Yeah, it was a Divas match. It's pretty much all I can comment about the match itself.
Yeah, it is what it is. But that DVT that Cameron hit on Oksana was nice.
Yeah, like one highlight. Up next, Kane came out. He tried to apologize, but we basically just got a massive brawl with Bryan.
Yeah, I still think that they may make Daniel Bryan do double duty at Elimination Chamber.
And sadly, due to our rules for draft, I won't get double points.
No, because that wouldn't be fair. Say if they did a King of the Ring tournament one night, somebody won 4 matches, then you have somebody winning 28 points.
Times 2, and then it would be good for
I'm talking
Grady.
about if it was like a Raw.
Yeah.
Raw King of the Ring.
Fair enough. But yeah, I could see it happening. Definitely as a part of the Authority stopping Bryan from winning the match. But
so
you never know.
Well, yeah.
Their champion, the face of the WWE, ain't doing too well for his gauntlet matches.
No, he's as of Raw, he's 1-2. But Orton and Cena it was what they are. It's they work well together, but the crowd just does not want to see this anymore.
Yeah, they've seen it like 100 times.
Yeah, they need to keep them away from each other, period, for like 3 years. Don't even have them touch anymore. You even have them in the same segment. Just don't have them anywhere near each other.
I'm sure
for 3 years. And then you could have another match between them, and it would seem new because most wrestling fans' memories are very short.
Okay. We'll jump over to SmackDown. They had a fatal 4-way match to decide the #1 contender for the United States Championship. And Jack Swagger. Sorry, Intercontinental. My notes are wrong. Jack Swagger actually picked up the win.
Well, you kind of knew he was going to win when he comes out, and he's the only villain in the match.
I don't know. I think Kofi and Ray were doing... Oh, Henry, sorry, was doing pretty well at throwing people around.
Yeah, but he's... At this point in time, he's not a villain.
Psh, he can turn at any second.
Yeah, the Hall of Pain can open at any time, but I think that the Hall of Pain is reserved for the Intercontinental Champion.
Fair enough. Maybe at Elimination Chamber, since after Jack Swagger's match, of course.
Honestly, I want to see Big E versus Mark Henry at WrestleMania. I want to see that match. And I hope that we get it.
Hopefully. That's all we can do.
I think that would be huge for Big E to be a former World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania. It would help him and the title.
It's better than teaming with Ziggler and losing to Team Hell No.
True.
Up next, we got an 8-person match. And the Rhodes brothers sort of rode on the Usos' coattails a bit here, because of course the Usos were going to win, undefeated.
Yep, they are undefeated this year. But yeah, that was more to build further on the Usos versus the New Age Outlaws. And come to find out, they did announce the title match for the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view this weekend on WWE.com.
They love just announcing matches on WWE.com and forgetting the TV. Yeah. Up next, Damian Sandow took on Darren Young. And gotta love me some brawl.
Yeah, this was a very short match. So Sandow is now really deep in that hole that he's gotten dug into. He didn't dig it. Somebody dug it for him, but he's in it.
Yeah.
By the way, we forgot about talking about the opening match of SmackDown.
We can go back to it. But the main point of this one, I think, is to set up a Titus O'Neil Darren Young match at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, we'll probably get it at pay-per-view.
So we'll jump back to the start. I didn't think we'd have time, but it looks like we might. Daniel Bryan, Christian, and Sheamus took on the Shield.
Is it just me, or is Christian starting to act like he's a little bit turning to the evil side?
I said that back on Raw. I think Christian's going to flip either in the Chamber match or before the Chamber match. I think we will possibly see a Christian-Sheamus feud coming out of the Chamber match, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, that might be Sheamus's placeholder. I felt sorry for Sheamus because he got hurt at the worst time, and they really don't have anything for him because they can't give him Daniel Bryan again because the fans will not accept that.
No.
And they can't give him anything higher on the card because there's no room for him. So it's just, he's in no man's land.
Yeah, I think he'll get Christian. That's just my opinion again. Up next, The Miz finally gets a match. Fandango Miz.
And the fans were more interesting than this match. I mean, they were chanting for The Undertaker.
Yeah.
I mean, this was... It was what it was.
It's clearly, again, setting up some form of Fandango, Summer Rae, Santino, Emma match. I think we're going to see that in the Chamber. Not in. That would be a bit weird, but at the Chamber.
But you know something? That actually reminds me of something I'd like to see. Something we've never seen before. An Elimination Chamber tag team match.
Wow. We're like on the exact same wavelength because I was thinking that 5 days ago at home. I'm like, I want to get all of these teams that have so much like animosity back when the primetime players were close to splitting and jam them in a cell. Put them in a pod and see how long they last.
But yeah, that's something I'd like to see. It's just have like you could have like 4 teams in it and have like their partner stuck in the pods.
Not as fun as jamming 2 people in the pod.
Yeah, and then have and see if you can keep each other from being eliminated before the person gets to be released from the pod.
Either way, I think Santino cost Fandango that match.
Yeah.
So Miz actually has a win for 2014.
Woo.
Main event. Big surprise. Big surprise.
The upset of the year so far.
Cesaro pins Orton.
And it's not just he pins him. He beat him 1, 2, 3 in the center of the ring with no shenanigans or anything. Cesaro is starting to act like a babyface.
Yes. Cesaro is babyface. Cesaro is getting shot up that card.
He's got the rocket pack, that's for sure.
Yeah, Cesaro is the next big thing. We're going to see him in main events soon.
Hopefully.
The real Americans, they're sort of going their separate ways.
Yeah, well, we don't know where they're going with this. It probably will end up being a WrestleMania match.
Yeah.
When we'll have to see which side Zeb takes.
That could be interesting. Well, we're all out of time, but it's been great talking to you, Josh.
Been great being on.
WWE Hall of Famer class of 2004 Big John Studd passed away in 1995. WWE Hall of Famer class of 2010 Antonio Inoki turned 71. The Vampire Warrior Gangrel turned 45. Ex-TNA wrestler Crimson turned 29. Current TNA knockout and person whose song we just played, Gail Kim, turns 37. Spanish commentator ex-Alberto Del Rio's long namesayer, Ricardo Rodriguez, turned 28. And the main event player, Brodus Clay, who surprisingly hasn't been in main events lately, turned 34. Over in New Zealand here, We got NZWPW's Bringing the House Down 37 at the Hitoya Gym coming up February 28th. So far all we know is the main event's going to be the NZWPW Championship on the line when Ben Mana has to defend against his number one contender Axel. We've also got a couple of IPW shows coming up. The Ultimate Prize from the Linfield Rec Centre, March 22nd. We know the main event's going to be the ultimate match for the IPW Championship where Travis Banks will defend against James Shaw. The ultimate match is a 30-minute Ironman match where the last 10 minutes of the Ironman match is a no disqualification match. They've also announced that coming up on April 12th, there's going to be the Genesis show, which will feature the Eliminator match, where it's a 20-man Royal Rumble match, where then it's the final two, it will turn into a singles match. And news just in coming from Aussie for Wrestle Rampage Revolution. It's going to be out at Adelaide, March 29th and 28th. IPW is sending a team over there to wrestle for that event, so that should be good. That's it for Wrestling Roundup this week. You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/Wrestling Roundup Radio, or our Twitter page, twitter.com/Wrestling R Radio, or our website, www.wrestlingroundup.host22.com, wrestlingroundup.host22.com, and I'll see you next week.